So this is what I mean when I say that one of the things we're going to come away with is that, African Americans we don't have a problem with white America, and that showed. I mean, you can simply go back to the 60s and look at the civil rights movement with Dr. King marching, nonviolent protests. You had white people marching with Dr. King. Now, it was nonviolent. They accepted the white people into the movement to, help try to bridge the gap. But, what happened? You had white America spit in our face. You had them, punch kids in the face and throw stuff at us and, pour food on people's head, turn on other white people for helping us. So, we have historically shown that we don't have a problem. We were trying to fix the issue. Now, all of a sudden, since we are frustrated and we're fed up with trying to be peaceful, and we start to get maybe a little violent from frustration, then all of a sudden it's like, we just hate white people and we're violent, we want to kill them. And that isn't the case when we have historically shown that we don't have a problem at all. Like I said, you can go back to right after slavery. There was no group of black people coming together to basically hunt and kill white people. That never happened. We just settled in. We tried to survive. We stuck it out. And luckily, a lot of African Americans flourished, but we still was attacked. We still didn't have equality. We still didn't have the same opportunities as white America. Yet we just came out of the most traumatic time of any race on this planet, going through, hundreds of years of slavery, to come out of that and to be set free and then to not be accepted into society as a human being. Of course, we will have issues, but I mean, even after all that, we had African Americans flourish and actually become successful and do well and have that, taken away from them. So even after, the whole, Black Wall Street was burnt down and all those people was homeless and they lost their wealth, and, we didn't retaliate. We marched and we tried to fix the issue. You had people like Marcus Garvey come along later and, say, okay, well, they don't like us here. They really probably just want us to leave the country. So let's just go. Let's get out of here. And you had the government stop us from doing that, from actually, trying to leave the country. We was trying to take the hint that white America don't like us. Marcus Garvey was saying, okay, let's just go back to Africa. But they kept us here. So as I've said, historically, it shows, even still to this day, that African Americans, we don't have an issue with white America. White America has an issue with us. I think that is clear. That's plain to see. And you can't judge a whole entire race by what you see on the news, because we know that it's biased. The media, makes us look bad in every chance they can. And that's obvious by people like this. And, we can see that. They get the most ignorant person to interview, and they put them out there. And this person is the face or is representing, African Americans. And now you have people who don't live or know any African Americans thinking that that's all of us. So historically, as I've said, we don't have an issue. White America has an issue with us, and that's obviously, plain to see once you examine the past.
In the middle of the 20th century, oppression and racism were challenged by courage.
We're willing to be beaten for democracy.
Leadership.
Negroes want complete equality, social, economic, and political.
And a dream.
We as a people will get to the promised land.
A crusade that galvanized a people. It unfolded in the courts and exploded on the streets. The demand for freedom and equality promised to unite the nation and threatened to tear it apart. It was the long, dramatic struggle of the civil rights movement.
So that video is obviously clear that, what has happened to us, what has taken place in America as far as what white America has done to African Americans in this country. I mean, come on. We all know about this stuff. We've seen the videos before. A lot of you have seen the pictures. We know what's taking place. You can't sit there and act like this stuff didn't happen and that it's not affecting the state of African Americans today, because, I mean, that's obvious. So now, when I'm speaking about, the history, once white America understands the history of African people and what we have accomplished, that they will look at us differently. Some of them will, because some of them think that we were simply just running around butt naked in Africa, or that the white man saved us from a life of savagery and a life of sin in Africa, when we come from royalty. We have kings and queens in Africa. We come from advanced civilizations, really highly advanced for that time. And we had, agriculture, and we had infrastructure, we had government, we had a legal system long before the Europeans. We had a whole culture that was centered around trade, and we were masters of trade. And this is exactly what the evidence is showing us about the history of African people, especially along the coast of Africa. We can look at these kingdoms and see that African people ruled, and they traded with countries all over the world. And it's almost impossible to do the research and not be blown away by the accomplishments of African people when you look at the state of African people today. And you would never fathom that we did all these things, and how do we end up where we are today. So when you look at the history, you can just go to ancient Egypt itself, look at that history, and if you actually spend the time and start getting into the cultures of Africa and getting into the advanced civilizations and kingdoms that rose up, like the Mali and the Songhai Empire, the Kerma Kingdom, the Congo, and a lot of kingdoms down in south of Africa and along the Swahili coast. When you start getting into these kingdoms and what they was able to accomplish, then you can see that we didn't come from a primitive background, that we had sophistication, that we had infrastructure, we had government, we had rules and regulations, we had a system before the firearm was invented and all that was taken away from us. And that's basically what happened. So you got to realize that our history was stolen, our success and wealth was stolen, we were taken captive, and it's hard for white America to admit that, but this is what happened. It wasn't that we were at war. A lot of people like to say, we wasn't slaves, we was prisoners of war, but a war takes two. It takes two people having an issue with each other, and then they come together and settle it with war. But that wasn't the case. Like I said, African people didn't have a problem with the Europeans. The Europeans wanted what the Africans had, and they couldn't take it right away because we were much stronger. So once the firearm was invented, they was able to easily take it from us. And this is basically what happened. And our history was basically, wiped out and lost. And, so now you have white America, and not only white America, African Americans thinking that our history starts with slavery, when that's not the case. And when you do the research, it shows you that clearly. Now, it would be easy for me to go through every little detail or every single issue that African Americans have with white America, but it's going to come out more as anger than, something that's actually factual that can be proven. So, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, we don't like white people for this, we don't like y'all for that. What we don't like is clear. So I want to be as forward, but at the same time as, patient and understanding, and try to get this, the issue heard on a, it's on a conscious level, on a sophisticated level, and not come across as just angry, because I can really just snap out. I can snap out on the issues that we have, with white America, and it will be basically justified, but it won't be seen as a legitimate issue. It'll just be seen as, another angry black man. So I'm not going to get into, well, we don't like white people for this, we don't like white people for that. No, straight facts. And as you've seen so far, it's justified. You can't look at that and say, well, damn, what we have went through in this country is crazy. Anybody with any kind of common sense can see that we are totally justified in our emotions and feelings towards white America. And again, this is not all of white America. This is just for those people who can't seem to understand what we are trying to say, what the whole Black Lives Matter movement is saying. We are saying that, of course, all lives matter. If all lives really mattered, then we wouldn't be saying Black Lives Matter. But all lives obviously don't matter because we have been consistently getting the raw end of the deal. So the reports that's out, about African Americans that show us as statistically being the most violent race in America, and you have white America looking at this and saying that, we are our own problem. Now, this is one of the issues that, most white people fall hook, line, and sinker for what the news says about us, especially when it's negative. And the whole thing is you have Fox News come out, and, I think it was the Bill O'Reilly or the O'Reilly factor, somebody like that, who came out with these numbers that basically said that we killed more people in America in 2013 than white America, when, it says here that they got the report from the FBI, but that's simply not true. Here's that actual report from the FBI, and you can see clearly that, white people killed more people in 2013 than African Americans. But not only that, white people killed more white people in 2013 than black people killed black people. And this is from the FBI site. I mean, you can look at the numbers and see that clearly Fox News is trying to, create this whole racial tension and put these numbers up there saying that it's us.